So in this video, I'm going to show you how to grow your Instagram account in 2020. And look, there's been a lot of different ideas and strategies for this, but so much has changed in just the past few years that we need to go over some of the details and some of the different methods that don't work anymore and some of the best ones that just came out for 2020. So look, my Instagram, it's not massive. It's about 16,000 followers now, but if you dial it back to just a few months ago, it was very, very small, only a couple thousand followers. So I think I have a little bit of an ability to talk about this. I know it's not a massive page. I don't have millions of followers, but I want to show you the things that have worked really well for myself and how you can use some of these tactics to really grow your Instagram organically. And the key word there is organically. I think a lot of people consider using some bots or maybe buying followers, buying likes. And let me just tell you that, look guys, it's not a great way to go, especially long term. I've seen people who will buy 100,000 followers, they'll buy likes every time they post a photo, they'll even buy comments. And it can look real for a little while, but the problem here is that you need to continue to throw money at this to keep it going. You need to keep paying for more followers. You need to keep paying. Every time you make a post, you have to pay for more likes. And it can actually become sort of a financial burden for a lot of people to continue doing this. And then when you stop, everybody says, well, wait, this guy used to get 2,000 likes. Now he's getting 5 likes because he doesn't have any real followers on his Instagram account. And there's also nothing funnier to see in this world when I go on Instagram and I see somebody with 100,000 followers and they get like 47 likes on a photo. It just means that they're fake followers and they paid for followers, and that just makes you a chump, in my opinion. Now, we're going to talk about some different bots and some things you could possibly use, but in general, automation is something you want to kind of be careful with when it comes to Instagram. So this video is going to be focused on organic growth on Instagram. Maybe we'll put out some other ones on bots in the future. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, but let's talk about those organic growth strategies that you can use. Now, first of all, what we need to do here, and this is the problem that most people face, they instantly hit a brick wall when they try to grow their Instagram, is because they're not thinking like a consumer. So the first step is you need to think, looking at your page right now on Instagram, if you have one, say, would you personally follow that? And I think a lot of people just kind of assume that if they just start posting stuff, people are just gonna come in flocks and they're just gonna start liking all their stuff. But the truth is, unless you have a big butt or unless you're like a 10 out of 10, perfectly just like the most beautiful person in the world, then you're probably not going to just grow Instagram organically by just posting pictures of you. So you need to understand that you need to find a way to provide some type of value to people who are considering following your page, because maybe a bunch of people end up looking at your page every day and then they say, should I follow this person or should I not follow this person? And if there's no other value besides the fact that it's just posting pictures of yourself, then you're going to need to find something else to do, okay? So what I would suggest doing is find a way to either connect with your audience in sort of a deeper way. So by creating longer Instagram posts, more detailed about maybe thoughts that you're having or ideas that you're having, or maybe a movement if you want to be more environmentally friendly and you start really posting about that. It's just an idea that you can use to kind of niche down your followers so that you're really kind of focused on one thing so that people know you for that one thing. And that certainly helps a lot. Now, it doesn't matter if you're growing a personal account or a business account, whatever it is, it's something that you want to make sure that you have followers who are there for something more than just you personally. And like I said, unless you're just like absolutely beautiful or you're just incredibly good looking, it's gonna be difficult to just get people liking your photos just because of like a picture of your face, right? All right, so in just a minute, we're gonna talk about hashtags and the effectiveness of that. But I would argue that the largest and most important factor when it comes to growing an Instagram account is the engagement rate that you're getting on your posts. Because when Instagram sees that you're getting a great engagement rate, meaning that people are commenting, people are liking your photos, people are replying to your stories in droves, they're gonna actually push that out to more people. And I've noticed that when I put up an Instagram story even, if it's something that gets a lot of people to respond, especially when I ask a question in an Instagram story, it's gonna push it out to a lot more people than just a regular story might do. So with my 16,000 followers, sometimes I'll put out a story that will get, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 views. But if I do one where I ask a question, where I get a lot of people replying, where I get hundreds of people replying to my story, all of a sudden it gets pushed out to 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people for story views on that. And it's because it's more engaging. So what I would suggest doing is on your Instagram post, and you'll notice this on my Instagram. If you're not following me yet, make sure you follow me after this video. But you'll see that I ask a question in all of my Instagram posts, especially in the last ones, and by doing this, by asking a simple question throughout the post, it drives so many comments. And it's interesting how this works, but I would suggest doing this if you want to get more engagement. Just write your post. Maybe, for example, the last one I did, I was in Tokyo and I just wrote some goals that I had for this coming year, for 2020. And I just said at the end, what are your goals? And it got hundreds of comments just by simply asking that question. So consider doing that to create more engagement on your post. Now, there's also that question of how many times per day should you post? And I think this is a really interesting one that there's not really any necessarily right or wrong answer to it. But you want to be careful with over posting. If you're posting 10 times a day, that could be a little bit much for people from what I've found. So for my personal Instagram account, I really only post maybe once a week. And that's just a personal preference. But I've seen people who will post 3, 4, 5 times a day, and it works very well for themselves. And I think in the beginning especially, it's okay to post a lot, but once you start to grow a little bit larger, every time you do post, you are going to lose a couple of followers, sometimes more, sometimes less, it depends. But that's something that's really up to you, and you need to find your vibe on that. That also goes for when you should post. I always post at 3 p.m. for Instagram, for YouTube, for all my social media accounts. I always post 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's just something I found worked for myself because it means people out in Pacific time in Los Angeles and San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, they're all on their lunch break, but 3 p.m. here on the East Coast, they're starting to wrap up their workday, and in Europe, it's like 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. So it's just a perfect time for me to post on Instagram. I find that gets a really good engagement. But once again, there's no right or wrong time to post on Instagram. Maybe you shouldn't post at 2 a.m. Because there might not be a lot of people up, and your Instagram post will kind of just get buried. But let's also talk about hashtags, which is something I think is really important. And a lot of people have been asking this question of should you use hashtags? Are they still relevant in 2020? And is this something that's going to be effective? And the answer to this is yes, hashtags are still useful. They are still effective. But you need to do it the right way. And I've seen a lot of people kind of doing this old tactic that people have been using for a long time, where they'll just clump 30 hashtags together and they'll comment it in their post, or they'll put it in the bottom of their post. And they're all big hashtags like hashtag happy, hashtag fun, hashtag cool, right? Those are things that have millions and millions and millions of people posting with those hashtags literally every day. And so you don't want to fall into that category, because if you do something with a big hashtag, something that has millions or hundreds of millions of posts to it, it's going to get buried very, very quickly, especially if you have a small Instagram account. So what you want to do is avoid these very large hashtags, especially at first, and go for some smaller or medium-sized hashtags. So what this means is find ones that have maybe about 50,000 hashtags total for that word or for that phrase, maybe 50,000, 100,000. I wouldn't go anything over 500,000 or a million, and that's going to help you kind of niche down and get things that are actually going to be found by people who might be following those hashtags. Now, you can also follow hashtags on Instagram, and this is a great way to kind of start to reach out into the industry that you're looking to tap into. So let's say that your Instagram account is about business, right? And you're creating a business Instagram account. You can follow hashtag entrepreneur or hashtag business mindset, right? And then it just pops up in your feed, so it's really easy to just leave a comment right there and engage with other people. Now, you'll also notice with what I said about driving comments, which is really the most important factor that I see when it comes to growing Instagram and getting pushed out onto the Explore page, is you want to actually just comment on people that you're following. So comment on their posts. You know, I don't know why people don't do this, but every time I'm in Instagram and I'm on my feed and I'm looking at my friends' posts, I'll always just leave a quick comment after I like their photo. And this kind of brings up something that's really interesting. If you're into psychology, you definitely know this already, but there's this idea of this feeling to reciprocate something that people have done for us. So if somebody starts commenting on your post, and I used to do this with like high school friends and people that I went to school with in college, where I would just comment something really nice on their post, and then I noticed that they started to do it for me as well. And so it instantly just gets more comments, it stirs up the pot more, and you're gonna get overall just more engagement on your post, because if there's more comments, there's gonna be more likes, and it's gonna get pushed out to everybody. So it's all around just a win-win-win. So let's talk about bots really quickly, guys. Look, there used to be something called Instagraphs, and there's a number of different bots that you can potentially use. But the truth is, guys, this is against Instagram's terms of service. And so if you try to go this route, it's going to get shut down. It's not going to last forever. I know that there's this mass story viewer thing that kind of came out in the past few months. It's getting shut down pretty hard by Instagram now. But essentially what people can do is you can view 5,000 stories or 5 million stories per day with your account. So you give somebody else your Instagram password and your username, they log in and they run some type of software that gets you a lot of exposure. The general rule of thumb that I would have for you is don't let anybody have your Instagram password and username, because that's going to be a big no-no when it comes to Instagram and their terms of service. And like I said, if your Instagram account gets shut down because you were using a bot or you were buying followers, you were buying likes, it's just going to be very sad to see that happen. And you know, I've seen friends even who will grow an Instagram account to a couple 100,000 followers. They're using a bot, they're following for following, and they end up getting shut down. And it sucks, you know, because they put so much time into it, so much effort into making those posts, and it totally gets shut down. So guys, grow organic. It might start slow, but it's going to start picking up over time. And my last tip here is to, like I said, find a way to provide value, but then try to find a way to actually drive traffic from outside of Instagram. This is a really interesting idea, but some of the largest Instagram pages that I see today are actually driven from outside traffic. So what you could do, consider starting a YouTube channel, driving that traffic to Instagram, having a podcast, driving that traffic to Instagram, TikTok, drive it to Instagram, Snapchat, drive it to Instagram, and then it's going to help boost it overall to get a lot more followers. This is why you might see somebody who has 100,000 likes per photo and they have like 4 million followers, and you're scratching your head thinking like, this is just a picture of a guy on a beach with his kid. Like, why is he getting so many likes? Why is he getting so many comments? It's because he created a fan base somewhere else on some other platform like YouTube, where he can get really in-depth and have a deep connection with his followers. So find a way to do that, guys. And I think that's really my biggest tips for everyone watching this video right now. So thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on Instagram for more content. And I'll see everybody in next week's video when we talk more in depth about growing Instagrams.